What's up everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on a single video. The third episode of the 8th season of Teen Mom 2 kicked off with little Addie reading a copy of, I think it was OK magazine, featuring her parents Leah and Jeremy on the cover. That really made me laugh out loud. Before we quickly headed over to Sioux Falls, where Chelsea revealed that Aubree was becoming really bratty with her ever since her younger brother, well, stepbrother, Watson was born. Chelsea says that Aubree has kind of developed this sort of fear of ghosts, which I think is a scam that allows her to become kind of closer to her parents because she is really jealous of the new addition to the family. Chelsea and Cole were actually really sweet about the whole thing and pretended to buy into her scam by helping her create some kind of ghost raid. And then we head on over to Florida, where Briana calls up an adoption counselor in order to discuss, adoption, which we all know is part of this fake ass storyline of hers. And then we head on over to our resident train wreck, Jenelle Evans, who says in her voiceover that she had a really great Christmas with her mother, Barbara, actually. And then she calls her up and invites her over to her baby shower dinner, and Barbara accepts. Meanwhile in Dover, Joe heads over to Kail's house where she tells him that she's ready to start filming about her pregnancy. And so this is when Joe takes the opportunity to really grill her about her stupid ass life choices. Actually, before that even happened, Kail was like, the whole reason I want to come out about my pregnancy is because I've seen the kind of backlash that Jenelle has been receiving for being a 3x3 as well, and I kind of want to come out with my own story, especially because it's going to be coming straight from my mouth, so it's the truth, which we all know it's just Kail's version of the truth. And she also says that it's going to come out anyway, and that she hasn't told her ex-husband Javi because she's scared that he's going to sell the story. And I was like, get over yourself, girl. But anyway, like I said, Joe really takes this opportunity to dig into her, and he asks her whether or not she's still with the guy and wants him in the other kids' lives. And lying ass Kail says yes, and that she wants to be more careful and take her time, which is really ironic because this whole entire conversation is the fact that this newly divorced person got pregnant while she was still married to someone else, and the kids are going through so many different changes a little bit too little too late. In fact, given that Kail has been pregnant like 5 times at the age of 23, 24, I'm pretty surprised that the word careful is even in her vocabulary. Anyway, Joe says he doesn't think that she took her time with the situation and that she should have been more careful before getting pregnant, and Kail claims that the reason she let a stranger shoot his shot was because she thought that she couldn't get pregnant. Really, girl? Really? And even if she couldn't get pregnant, what about STDs? Like, do those not exist in the teen mom world? Wasn't she on a reunion like a couple of years ago talking about how she caught the clap from someone and might have transferred it to someone else? Come on. JC, the producer, actually takes this opportunity to ask her whether or not she was on contraceptives, and she says no, which is funny because every year on the reunion, these lying ass heifers claim to be on some kind of birth control, but it always turns out to be a lie the next season because there's always at least one pregnant one. And to make things even stranger, she later claims that the whole pregnancy wasn't even a choice, which really contradicts what she just said a second ago to Joe about the fact that she was like, you know what, I just got told I probably would never get pregnant again, blah, blah, blah. And this was my last shot at a miracle baby too. And even what she said to her exclusive interview with, I think, Us Weekly, when she stole the story. This girl cannot get her pregnancy lies straight here. Again, she claims that it wasn't planned, but it also wasn't prevented. But if you were reading her Us Weekly story, which I just mentioned, she specifically told the journalist that she and Chris both decided to have this baby together because it was probably her last shot at getting pregnant, according to this mystery diagnosis. And the whole thing just keeps getting like more and more effed up, you guys. Like, she just keeps talking in circles around herself, and it just gets stupider and stupider. She's like, Chris knew I'd be happy to have a black baby, so it's his fault. He's a big boy, he knows how to pull out. Like, what? At that point, both Joe and JC had no choice but to laugh at how dumb this girl was making herself look on worldwide television. You literally cannot make up that level of stupid. Like, literally cannot. The recklessness of her decisions keep like flying over her head, and so Joe's really trying to get it through to her. He's like, listen, I am so worried for the kids right now, Kail, because at least when you were with Javi, Isaac was a baby and he had no clue what was going on. But now that he's a lot older, and even Lincoln is getting a lot older as well, this could really affect them. And in response to this, Kail claims that the boys know that she's pregnant, and she wonders whether or not they think that she's a piece of shit. And to be honest, I literally do think that when they become older, they are gonna think that about her, because there's no other way to describe this kind of a decision. Jenelle actually hosts the baby shower that she was talking to Barbara about, and it featured all of the kids, and she later chooses that occasion to announce the fact that she and David were about to go on a vacation right after the birth of their daughter. And everyone's kind of sitting there like, what? You know what I mean? I would think that new parents are really excited to spend all the time in the world that they can with their kid. Are new parents not like super nervous and like about any little thing that happens with their young babies as soon as they're born, and just, you know, wanting to be there for every little moment? And you guys are at a baby shower already talking about how you want to have a vacation from your kid. And vacation, you know what I mean? It's like, why do two, you know, pretty much unemployed people even need a vacation anyway? And so Barbara, being the voice of reason, asks her, like, why are you already thinking about having a vacation from your kid? She's not even going to be a year old at that point. And who are you going to pawn her off on? Who are you going to pawn these other 5,000 children off on? And that aggravates Jenelle. And of course, it leads to World War III at the baby shower. Briana and her friend go shopping and discuss the conversation with the adoption counselor. And Briana says that she wants Lewis to figure out what to do with the baby, if not adoption, because it's his fault that they're even in that situation. And at that point, I was like, Briana, listen, you are a bird through and through. It is not 100% Lewis's fault that you're in this situation. Like, as women, we are the gatekeepers of life. So in my personal opinion, we have like a different level of responsibility than men have. We can't just walk away from a pregnancy the same way. You know what I mean? Like, whether or not a man wants you to be pregnant, you get to decide. Like, they don't get to. So you have a lot more responsibility in pregnancy, like, you know, just by biology, than men do. So the fact that you did not use birth control with this stranger, the fact that you did not use like condoms with this stranger, makes you equally, if not more, at fault than him, because it's you that ends up having to carry this child to term. And you let like the decision of abortion fall solely on the shoulders of this virtual stranger. Like, come on, girl, get it together. Now, Jeremy makes his little teen mom 2 appearance as he and Brooke throw Addie a birthday party at the pool and talk about how Addie never wants to return back to Leah's house, as if that's like something to pat Jeremy's shoulder over about like how good of a parent he is. And I'm just sitting here like, listen, boo-boo, the reason that Addie never wants to go back to Leah's house after being with you is because you are away from her so often and for so long that she seems to never really know when she'll see you again. So of course, being that young, she's gonna never want to let you go because she doesn't know the next time she'll see you. So don't flatter yourself. We also get a little visit from Chelsea's mom, who comes over to her and her eyebrow's house to visit little baby Watson. And Chelsea tells her about how Aubree always sleeps with her and Cole now, and has become kind of bratty. Aubree then complains that Watson never smiles at her, and she has a little bit of a fit about this. And Chelsea's like, I really feel like Aubree's bad attitude since the birth of Watson has been kind of tainting the first child experience for Cole, and I feel really bad about that. And I was like, she is so sweet. Like, that is a really, you know, selfless thing to think. But at Joe's house, he goes back and tells his fiance V about Kail's pregnancy and how she's ready to talk about it on camera. And they discuss how quickly she moves and how the kids still don't even understand why Javi isn't around. V asks what the hell the girl is smoking, because she's constantly making decisions that affect literally everyone. Like, they had to uproot their lives from one state just to follow her down here to a relationship that crashed and burned. And here she is already pregnant by someone else before the papers are even like fully filed on her divorce from Javi. Like, you know, everyone else is thinking the exact same thing that V is thinking. What the hell is wrong with this woman? V literally calls Kail aggravating and selfish and says that she wouldn't want, you know, her and Joe's daughter Vivi to look up to someone like Kail. And this is me throwing words in her mouth, but it's because Kail is such a trashy, like, disgusting person. You can literally tell that V is disgusted that this is the woman that she is kind of tied to for life, you know, via Joe. One of my favorite parts of the conversation was when V kind of closed it off by saying that, you know, if she were going through a divorce, the last thing she'd be thinking about was getting pregnant by another man. She would be worried about her damn kids. And that was like, mic drop, V, Mic drop. All right, y'all, over in Janelleville, Barbara calls Jenelle to discuss plans to exchange Jace later in the day, I believe. And David is being so aggravating, just in the background, making all kinds of comments over Barbara and just, you know, really, really irritating things. And Jenelle actually handles it really well and gets off the phone with her mother after making plans for exchanging Jace. And then David pretty much tells her, like, oh, I can't stand your mom. You don't need to talk to her. And it's like, there's so many red flags with this man that Jenelle doesn't see. Like, remember, you guys, David, pretty much like a couple of months after meeting Jenelle, had already cut her off from her baby daddy Nathan and assumed the role of mediator between all communications. And here he is trying to cut her mother out too, especially after he's already like moved her out to the woods in the middle of nowhere, and we've already seen her complain about no longer having any friends. The whole thing is a hotassmess.com. As for Briana, her ex-boyfriend Lewis actually texts her to say that he misses her, Stella, and Nova, and that he feels lonely. She's sitting down with her mother and her sister in a living room with Nova as well, and as per usual, her sister Brittany is inappropriately cursing in front of her young daughter Nova, and these three idiots actually decide to have an open conversation about adopting out this baby in front of Nova. And to make matters even worse, they literally consult Nova about whether or not she would be okay with them giving up her sister for adoption. Like, the whole thing was absolutely insane. Like, you know, maybe one adult could be this stupid and, like, you know, have this kind of a lapse of judgment, but the fact that all three of your grown asses were sitting there talking with like a 5-year-old about potentially adopting out her sister and asking her whether or not she'd want that, putting that kind of pressure on her shoulders, absolutely disgusting, and the three of them really should be ashamed of themselves. And just in my personal opinion, I feel like with Nova being like such a young age where she doesn't even fully understand what adoption is, especially with the way they just said, you know, we could just give her to another family who wants a kid, I feel like she kind of internalized a little bit about that potentially, and kind of sort of feels like every now and again that this is something that can happen to her as well. You know what I mean? They didn't even fully explain the concept of adoption to her before they asked her whether or not she wanted that for her sister. Just insane. Anyway, Jeremy and Brooke drop Addie off to Leah for her second birthday party of the day, and sassy Gracie refuses to wish Addie a happy birthday. And meanwhile, David manages to make Jenelle snap at her mom over picking up Jace, and during their phone call, because of David egging her on, Jenelle starts screaming at Barbara about how she wants her to drop Jace off closer to them, even though it's Janelle's fault that she lives so far from Jace, mind you. She's like, we gotta go pick up Kaiser, we gotta go pick up Marissa, we gotta go pick up this kid, that kid, like a whole football team of them, as if it's anyone's fault but their own that they're consistently having babies with people across the county. Now, the episode is really winding down here. Chelsea takes Aubree and Watson for a drive, and she has a conversation with Aubree about her behavior since the baby has been born. She complains that Aubree has been really negative lately, and Aubree says that it's because she's tired, and Chelsea says that no, I think things have changed since Watson has been born, and Aubree kind of admits to it. She's like, I just feel so sad because I have to go to bed and you guys get to stay up with Watson. You laugh with Watson, you have a lot more fun with Watson. And Chelsea essentially just tells her, listen, you're a child, we're the parents, that's life, kind of deal with it. And I don't like always, you know, having to get mad at you, having to scold you. I want us to have a good relationship like we used to have. So can you, you know, kind of get over it? You know, it was a nice little conversation between the two of them. And now in the very, very last scene of this episode, Kail and Joe go out to dinner under the pretense that they're going to talk to the children about Kail's latest pregnancy, okay? So they get to the restaurant and, you know, Isaac excuses himself to use the washroom, and Joe's like, listen, bitch, I did not come all the way here just to eat dinner with you. You told me that we're going to talk about your pregnancy to these children, so let's get to it because I've got a fiance and a child to get home to. Not in those words, but you know that's what he meant. And so Kail's like, I'm not going to bring it up unless Isaac brings it up. It's like, Isaac is 7 damn years old, petty Betty. He's not going to sit there at the dinner table be like, Mom, so why are you pregnant by a random man right now, huh? Like, what do you expect? You're the adult. You made this decision, and I know you're ashamed of yourself, which you should be, but it's your job to bring it up to your child and not vice versa. So anyway, Isaac returns from the washroom and he sits down at the table, and everything is just super quiet and awkward because there's a giant elephant in the room. And so before they could even bring up the topic of the baby, Isaac gets sad and he sits on Joe's lap and he's like, I wish that you and mommy lived together so that we could all be together all the time. I want to spend equal amounts of time with the two of you. And it was just so sad. And you can just tell both Joe and Kail were really floored and sad about it. And you know what Kail says? She's like, you know what? I'm sorry, like it's not gonna happen, but we live close to each other, which is funny because they live close to each other despite Kail, not because of Kail. Remember, she fought Joe on even moving to be near his child, on even having time with his child, and when he moved in directly, like up the street from her to be really close to Isaac, she moved further away. So anyway, that is kind of how the conversation ends. There's no way they could have brought up the fact that Kail's got this new baby on the way with some random man they've never seen a day in their lives. So you know, that's how the episode finishes. And it's like so sad to see Isaac so heartbroken already about losing two dads in his young life, and you know, knowing that he's about to find out that his mom's a thotty with a third baby on the way and still no father in sight. You guys, what did you think of the third episode of Teen Mom 2? Let me know all your thoughts and opinions in the comment section down below, and as usual, we'll chat. You can also like this video, subscribe for more. Feel free to share it with your friends as well, and follow me across social media where I absolutely love chatting with you. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.